Amelia was near the entrance when she saw Mrs. Evelyn and her husband walk in. With them was their daughter, Claire. Amelia's heart clenched the moment her eyes fell on her. She welcomed them politely. Sean joined her quickly, his face lighting up. He greeted Evelyn and her husband warmly, then turned to Claire. His gaze lingered on her a moment too long, a subtle look that most people would have missed, and even she might have missed if she had no idea what was going on, but Amelia saw it, and it hurt deeply. When the moment came for Sean to speak, the room quieted down. He stood confidently in front of the guests, his glass lifted. He began by thanking his friends for their support over the years, and they clapped and cheered him on. But then, his friends shouted playfully, telling him to move past the casual thanks and speak about the person who truly mattered most. All eyes turned to Amelia. Sean smiled at her, and for a moment, she wondered if he believed his own words. He spoke about his wife with great affection, telling the room how Amelia had been his anchor through every difficult season of his life. He described her as his strength, his joy, the reason he was able to keep going through both failure and success. He told the guests that he loved her deeply and that she was everything to him. The crowd reacted with warm applause, admiring the devotion between them. To anyone else, it was the perfect declaration of love. But to Amelia, each word felt like a blade pressing deeper into her heart. She stood there listening, numb and cold inside. When Sean finished, his friends encouraged Amelia to respond. They teased her, insisting that after such a moving speech, she should say something. So she walked slowly to where Sean stood, leaned toward him, and gave him a soft kiss on the lips. "It's your big day. Enjoy it," she said with a smile. Then she stepped away, excusing herself from the center of attention. From a distance, Amelia watched the party continue. Sean moved through the room, greeting guests, accepting congratulations, and laughing with them. But Amelia's eyes never left him. She noticed the small hidden gestures, the way his hand brushed against Claire's, the way he leaned closer to her when he thought no one was paying attention. Every secret touch between them felt like fire under Amelia's skin. She held her glass tightly, thinking of the years she had given to Sean and the sacrifices she had made for their family. Anger and hurt grew inside her with every passing moment. Amelia walked toward Sean. "I think I'll go home," she said quietly. "I'm not feeling well." Sean nodded, a hint of concern in his voice. "All right. Go get some rest. I'll stay a little longer and handle things here." She gave him a brief smile, though it didn't reach her eyes, and made her way toward the exit. Once outside, she paused for a moment, taking a deep breath before getting into her car. Amelia drove home barely holding herself together until she reached the house. As soon as she stepped inside, she closed the door and broke down in tears. For a moment, she thought about going upstairs, packing his clothes, and throwing him out of the house. But what kept her from making any quick decision was Ethan. She thought of her son constantly. Ethan was still young and needed both parents in his life. Amelia worried that if she ended the marriage, Ethan would grow up in a broken home. She feared he would blame her for it, even though Sean was the one who had betrayed their family. She also knew how difficult divorce could be for women. She had seen other women lose more than they gained, and she did not want that to happen to her. For the next few days, Amelia went about her life quietly, keeping up her usual routine. One late afternoon at work, Amelia was preparing to close for the day when she stepped out to ask the nurse if there were any more patients waiting. She hoped she could finish early and go home. The nurse checked the list and said there was only one more person left. She pointed, and Amelia's eyes followed. Sitting in the waiting area was Claire. Amelia froze for a second but quickly composed herself. She called Claire in and led her to her office. Claire smiled and explained that her mother had told her to come directly to Amelia because she was the best doctor in the hospital. Amelia kept her face neutral and asked the usual questions, how she was feeling and what symptoms she had. Claire stated her symptoms and Amelia wrote down the details, deciding they would need to run a few tests. She prepared the equipment, and as she began drawing her blood, Claire started talking about her personal life without being asked. She said she had a boyfriend who was married. She spoke as if it were normal, saying they had been together for over 2 years. She added that he told her he loved her deeply, that his marriage suffocated him, and that he could not wait to divorce his wife. She went on to say that he took care of her and promised her a future together. Claire's tone carried confidence, but Amelia could sense that the words were meant to sting, as if Claire was trying to provoke a reaction from her. Amelia stayed calm, but she did not ignore it. She asked Claire if she was sure her boyfriend truly wanted to leave his wife. If he had really meant it, he would have done it already. Claire shook her head and dismissed the doubt. She insisted with confidence that he would leave his wife and be with her. She looked certain while Amelia finished collecting the samples. After the tests were processed, Amelia read the results carefully. She saw that Claire was pregnant, about 5 weeks along. She gave Claire the news in a professional tone, telling her clearly that she was expecting a child. Claire only gave a small smile, gathered her things, and left the office without hesitation. As soon as the door closed, Amelia set the papers aside, and before she could stop herself, the tears came. She buried her face in her hands and cried silently in her office. Amelia had reached her breaking point. For weeks, she had tried to push the truth to the back of her mind. But the image of Claire sitting in her office, smiling confidently as she spoke about her married boyfriend, replayed over and over in her head. And now, knowing that Claire was pregnant, Amelia could no longer pretend. That night, when Sean came home, she waited until after dinner before asking him directly. She looked at him across the table and spoke. "When we were about to get married," she began, "we made a pact. We promised each other that if, at any point, either of us felt attracted to someone else, we would be honest about it. We agreed not to lie, but to talk about it and find a way to deal with it together. Sean, if you are seeing anybody else, tell me. Please, don't lie to me. Because what will hurt me the most is not that you made a mistake, but that you looked me in the eyes and denied it." Sean stared at her as if she had insulted him. He let out a sharp laugh and shook his head. He told her she was paranoid, that she was letting stress from work get into her head. He said he loved her and that there was no one else. She didn't argue. She just nodded, letting him believe that his denial was enough. But inside, Amelia was done. She had given him a chance to right his wrong, and he failed miserably. The next day, she went to see a lawyer. She explained her situation, the years she had invested in her marriage, the money she had poured into supporting Sean's career, and her fear of losing Ethan. The lawyer listened carefully and then told her something she did not want to hear. Without solid evidence of infidelity, it would be difficult to win custody of her son or to reclaim what was rightfully hers. Amelia left the office feeling determined. If evidence was what she needed, then she would get it. She could not let Sean take everything from her, especially not Ethan. So once again, she turned to Lena and they came up with a plan. Lena would move into an apartment close to where Claire lived. From there, she could keep an eye on Claire's place and take photos whenever Sean visited. Within days, Lena had settled into her new place. She kept Amelia updated through calls and messages, always careful to stay unnoticed. It didn't take long before she saw Sean arriving at Claire's apartment. Lena snapped photos each time. She made sure to capture clear photos through the large glass windows, pictures of Sean and Claire kissing, laughing, and holding each other with no care in the world. At home, he acted as if nothing was wrong, still playing the role of a caring husband and father. Then, there was also Melissa. For years, Melissa had called herself Amelia's friend, but when Sean was busy sneaking around with Claire, her so-called friend, had downplayed her suspicions, telling her she was overthinking. Clearly enjoying watching her suffer. Melissa's husband had once made it clear he liked Amelia. Back then, she had ignored him, loyal to her marriage and friendship. But now, Amelia saw an opportunity. If Melissa had enjoyed watching her doubt Sean, then Melissa deserved to feel the sting of betrayal herself. It didn't take much. Amelia reached out casually, and Melissa's husband responded quickly. He had always admired her, and when she gave him an opening, he didn't hesitate. Amelia went through with it. She wanted Melissa to feel the same kind of humiliation and pain she had been forced to live with. When it was done, Amelia felt no guilt, just satisfaction that she had taken a step forward in her own kind of justice. A week later, she asked Melissa to meet. They sat across from each other in a cafe. Melissa started with small talk, but Amelia didn't waste time. "You know I would never keep anything from you, although I can't say the same for you. That being said, I slept with your husband," Amelia said plainly, without hesitation. Melissa stared at her in shock, her voice trembling. "Why would you do that? Why would you sleep with my husband? Do you just want to destroy my perfect and beautiful marriage?" Amelia leaned forward, her tone sharp. "Because you knew my husband was cheating on me. You knew, Melissa. And instead of telling me the truth, you encouraged him. You stood by and even tried to make me doubt myself, to make me think I was paranoid. Do you know how that felt? Now you do. Now you know what betrayal feels like. Now you understand the pain I went through when I realized not only did my husband betray me, but so did my friends, yourself and your husband. Melissa's face twisted, her anger spilling out. You think you're all that. You always act like you're above everyone else. Let me tell you something, just because you slept with my husband doesn't mean my marriage will be destroyed like yours. I will make sure to keep my marriage till the very end. Melissa gave a bitter laugh and added, and just so you know, we were never friends. I only tolerated you. Amelia pushed back her chair and stood up. I guess you should have said that sooner. That way, I wouldn't have wasted my tears crying over your betrayal. At least now I know the truth. Without another word, Amelia picked up her bag, turned, and walked out, leaving Melissa sitting there, seething in her anger. Richard Grant had called a few days earlier to invite Amelia and Sean to dinner. He explained that he had decided to invest in Sean's movie production business and wanted to discuss the details in a relaxed setting. It was meant to be a friendly evening to talk business and strengthen the connection between their families. On the night of the dinner, Amelia and Sean arrived at the Grant residence. They exchanged polite greetings with Richard and Evelyn Grant, who had prepared a simple meal. After a short conversation about the investment and some casual catching up, they all sat down to dinner. Halfway through the meal, Amelia set down her fork and said she had something to say. She paused for a moment, then turned her gaze toward Claire. Should I tell your parents, or will you? Claire didn't answer. Amelia shifted her attention to Mrs. Evelyn Grant. Your daughter is pregnant, she said. She's 5 weeks along. The father of her child is my husband. They've been having an affair behind my back. Amelia continued, speaking firmly. She explained why it was wrong for someone to be involved with a married man, to take the place of a wife, and to betray the trust of everyone around them. The room went silent. Evelyn Grant's hand flew to her mouth. Richard's face turned hard as he processed the news. Sean stood abruptly. What are you doing? Why are you humiliating me? No, Sean, Amelia said, standing as well. You humiliated me. For months you lied. For months you sneaked around. You thought you could live 2 lives without consequences. Now the truth is out. Amelia continued without hesitation. And while we are being honest, she added, I slept with your best friend. Sean's face went red. You what? He yelled. His hands clenched at his sides. How dare you? You dared first, Amelia said firmly. Don't act like a victim when you built this mess, and now you get to understand what it feels like to be betrayed. Then she reached into her bag and placed a folder on the table. These are the divorce papers. Custody of Ethan. Full repayment of every cash I invested in your career. You don't get to ruin my life and walk away. Sean snatched the papers and tore them apart. I'm not signing. You will not take my son from me. Amelia looked at him and spoke. This is happening, Sean. Whether you sign or not. You made your choices. Now you live with the consequences. The atmosphere at the table had shifted completely. Claire sobbed quietly into her mother's arms. Amelia collected her bag and walked away, tears running down her face. Her marriage was finally over. Everything had been revealed, and there was no going back. She had taken the first step toward reclaiming her life. After the dinner incident, Sean was furious. He went to the hospital, demanding to see the director. He tried to convince them to force a psychological evaluation on Amelia, claiming she was unstable because of past trauma. He accused her of being unfit to work as a doctor, hoping to damage her reputation and discredit her in front of colleagues and patients. Amelia tried to defend herself, but Sean was more assertive, shouting and trying to convince everyone she was indeed unfit to work in a hospital. She realized the confrontation could escalate further and decided to leave before things got worse. Amelia left the hospital quickly, heading to pick up Ethan from school. Sean, still determined, followed her in his car. He tried to intercept her, demanding to know what she planned to do with their son, but at one point, he lost sight of her in traffic and spent several minutes searching the streets. Frustrated and worried, he eventually returned home, thinking Amelia had no choice but to come back. Amelia took Ethan to a quiet spot where she could speak to him privately. She told him that she and his father would be divorcing. Ethan didn't know how to process the news. Amelia asked him if he would prefer to live with her or with his father. He said he didn't know and that he didn't want to choose between them, asking for some time to think. Amelia drove him to a small bakery where he could be alone for a while and gather his thoughts. She stayed only long enough to make sure he was settled, then left him there and went home. When Amelia got home, Sean was already there. He looked around and didn't see Ethan with her. Panic set in immediately. He thought about Amelia's childhood, how her mother had found out her father was cheating and in a fit of anger, had driven recklessly with the children in the car, almost causing a deadly accident. Now, seeing Amelia alone and Ethan missing, he feared she might be mentally unstable like her mother had been and that something terrible could have happened to their son. Sean's voice shook as he asked, "Where is Ethan?" Amelia stayed calm and steady. "I killed him," she said, watching his face change in shock and horror. Sean froze, the fear and panic overtaking him immediately. In a sudden surge of anger, Sean lunged at Amelia. He struck her repeatedly, screaming, "Where's my son?" Amelia fell to the floor, unconscious from the attack. At that moment, Ethan walked in. He froze, seeing his mother on the ground. Panic overtook him, and he ran to her, shaking her, yelling at his father to stop. "Wake up, Mom. Please wake up." Sean tried to speak through his panic, stammering, "It's not what you think." But his words did nothing to calm the situation. The neighbors, hearing the commotion, called the police. Officers arrived quickly, witnessing the scene. They immediately arrested Sean. Few weeks later, the legal proceedings followed. The court recognized the danger Sean posed and ruled in favor of Amelia. She gained full custody of Ethan, and all the money Sean had earned was allocated to her as compensation for the financial support she had provided over the years. Sean was sentenced to 1 year in prison for assault and endangering his child. After serving his time, he did not return to the town. He left with Claire, moving away to start a new life. Amelia focused on rebuilding her life with Ethan. She returned to her work at the hospital and concentrated on raising her son. She had regained control of her life and ensured that both she and Ethan were safe.